Um, I'm sorry, that's me
Okay.
actually. Can't help it. I don't know how to start actually. So I'm welcoming Alec Jones to this interview on what connects us all. So what I do know is that Alec Jones, his discipline is Tai Chi, and he has been coming to Poulstone, holding retreats for over 20 years. So I'm very honoured to be speaking to Alec Jones about his practice and really the underlying messages of what he teaches. So, Alec, thank you for coming along. I suppose my starting point is, would you tell us something about yourself?
Myself, yeah. I, I was a very, very, very painfully shy child and grew up into a painfully shy adult. And I discovered, I was always interested in some kind of martial art or meditation as well. I was always too shy to do anything about it. And at some point, I realized or found out that Tai Chi was a martial art and meditation in movement. And so I bought the book on it. And there's nothing wrong with the book. It's just you can't learn this from a book if you don't know anything. It's like learning. You can't learn to drive from a book.
Yeah.
Once you can drive, the book will make perfect sense. So I promised myself that I would look for a class and find a class. So and my intention was to go to the class to learn how to keep people away because I was shy. And it took me 7 years to find a class.
Wow.
Because nobody knew what it was at that time. This was 1973 when the Kung Fu boom happened.
I remember it well.
Right. So before that, you said martial arts to people, they thought karate and judo, that's all we knew about. So I found out what Tai Chi was and I thought that sounds like it would be helpful. But I was going from a place of fear and wanting to learn how to do this really well.
Yeah.
To keep people away. And after it took about 3 months for the penny to drop, that's not what I was being taught at all. I was being taught how to stop doing this and do this and be wide open and perfectly safe. And I wasn't even being taught martial arts. So it was like it turned my life upside down. How I'd seen the world became completely fresh and new and open. And so I thought, well, I can learn this. It only takes a year. I can learn this, and then I'll be set. I'm still learning.
Wow.
40 years later, I'm still learning.
Yes. So it's 40 years ago you started your interest in Tai Chi, and before I go any further, is it Tai Chi or Tai Chi?
Well, it's mostly in the West. It's spelled CHI, which you would pronounce Chi. But the Chinese have their own romanization of their language, which is JI. The Chi in Tai Chi is JI, and the way they say you actually hear Chi mostly rather than G.
Okay.
So it's somewhere between the two, the actual pronunciation. But again, it depends on your regional accent, the Chinese regional accent, let alone the Western regional accent. So Tai Chi, if you say it quick enough, you can't tell which one it is.
Okay, so forgive me if it sounds like Chi.
That's fine.
Yeah. Tai Chi. Okay, good. Yeah. Good. And you say you found a class in 6 years after you started looking into Tai Chi. What was that class? What kind of class was that? Where was it? Who was the teacher?
It was in Bristol, and it was with Richard Farmer, who's been coming to Poulstone for a long time also, and used to run Poulstone.
Yes, that's right.
So he was my first teacher, and I was with him for 28 years as a student and part of the school as a teacher. And I actually found an advert for a Tai Chi class in London. I was living in Bristol, So I rang them up and I said, have you got anyone local to Bristol? And they said, well, there's Mr. Farmer lives in Cardiff,
Oh
which is
wow.
fairly close. I
Yeah.
rang him up and he was about to start a class in Bristol.
Okay.
So I went along to that, and you
Yeah.
know, everything else after that is
And why Tai Chi? Not why not? I know Kung Fu and karate that was really popular in the 70s. Well, why was
yeah,
it that Tai Chi that took your interest at that time?
because of the meditative aspect of it, and the health aspect of it, and the softness of it.
Mm.
So it's not you can't attack someone with Tai Chi. It's a defensive art.
Okay.
So if someone attacks me, I can apply Tai Chi to defend myself. But it's about harmony and harmonizing yourself within yourself and with anything that's going on in relation to you as well. So you know the yin yang symbol,
Yeah.
that's called Tai Chi. Most people know it as yin yang, but it's called Tai Chi.
So,
So the art of Tai Chi, go on.
that symbol is it means Tai Chi or it is Tai Chi?
It's called Tai Chi. The name of that symbol is Tai Chi Tu, the Tai Chi symbol.
Oh wow.
The what the art of Tai Chi, which we call it Tai Chi in the West affectionately, its proper name is Tai Chi Chuan, which means Tai Chi boxing or Tai Chi fist. That's the translation of it as a martial art, as a practice. So, because when I went to China, somebody said, "Oh, so what do you do for a living?" And I said, "I teach Tai Chi." Well, how can you do that? It's a symbol. It's a picture, basically. It's a theory. It's a philosophy. It's not movement. And I did. Well, it's this, and I did a movement. Oh, you mean Tai Chi Chuan? They didn't relate the two things
So
as a name.
Tai Chi Chuang is different to Tai Chi.
Tai Chi Chuan is taking the principles of Tai Chi into movement, as one way of saying it.
Okay.
So all the movements we do in Tai Chi Chuan, are based on that symbol. So when you look at that symbol, it's not split down the middle. It's got an S shape, so it looks like it's turning.
Yeah.
It's got movement in it. So one side is yin, one side is yang. The yin side is receptive, and the yang side is outward. So outward and inward. Anything you can think of has a complementary opposite, and they fit together and make a whole. So that's what the practice is about in terms of your own physical movements. There's activity and release, relaxation.
So
So the weight moves from one leg to the other. One leg's active, one leg's passive.
So I'm now trying to understand what is Tai Chi, and you've introduced a number of interesting ideas. One is the symbol part of it, one's the
Yeah,
practice part of it. You've talked about harmony, you've talked about things becoming whole. So let's go back to the symbol. Why
yeah.
why is Tai Chi represented as a symbol, and you can't explain it or describe it in words? Is there a reason for that?
It's that it comes from Taoism. So it's the philosophy of Taoism. So it's about the duality of the universe and the complementary opposites of anything you can think of. If there's light, there's dark. If there's hard, there's soft. If there's front, there's back. Everything is opposite. Everything has an opposite, but it's not an opposing opposite. It
Yeah.
fits together to make a third harmony, and that's the beauty of the art. Is about harmonizing yourself, all the hard bits and the soft bits, so they meet in harmony. And it is related to the religion of Taoism, but I don't follow the religion of Taoism. I follow the philosophy of Taoism, which is what the Tao Te Ching is about. The book, the Tao Te Ching, is the second most translated book in the world. Apparently, the Bible is the first most translated. The Tao Te Ching is the second most translated. And that's the philosophy of Taoism, and that symbol represents that philosophy.
So the movement part of it, which is Tai Chi Chuang,
Chuan,
sorry, Tai Chi Chong, is
Chuan,
Chuang, Tai Chi Chuang,
Chuan.
Tai Chi Chuang.
Yes,
Okay, is the movement expression of Tai Chi the symbol, and the symbol itself is just an expression of a philosophy that comes
yeah,
from the Tao.
Taoism. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
So that's the root of Tai Chi.
yeah.
So what is the Tao?
There's no answer to that. The first line in the Tao Te Ching, the Tao that can be explained is not the Tao. And then it goes on to write another 81 verses about you
What
can't
is it?
explain it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's
And
and why should movement try to explain it then? Why should movement try to explain that?
it doesn't explain it, it expresses it.
What does it express?
It expresses harmony, the harmony of the opposites, activity and relaxation.
Mm.
Everything that's moving forward, if there's something moving forward, part of me is moving backwards at the same time. Everything is in balance.
Yeah.
So that's what the practice of Tai Chi Chuan is, to try to come into balance with everything, with your movement, with your thoughts, with your emotions, not to a point of stasis, which is dead, because the symbol is moving, or it looks like it's moving. So it's about coming into harmony, and then, I mean, just taking the next breath can upset the balance. So you're just practicing coming back into balance all the time. So in one sense, it's lost my thread now.
So you said it was about harmony. It's about balance.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what the philosophy is. Now you said that you found out it was different to, for example, karate, kung fu, because there's this meditative aspect to it. It almost seems that it's all meditative, and the movement is just the consequence of that. But can you
Right.
also tell us something about the meditative aspect of Tai Chi?
Well, it's sometimes known as meditation in movement. So what you're practicing, in one sense, is being very still whilst moving. So that's another harmony of opposites, stillness and movement at the same time. So on the inside, I'm practicing being very still and just allowing movement to come through me. And it's not all slow and gentle either. There are forms and sequences that use weapons. So one of my favorite Tai Chi forms sequences is sword form. So there are weapons involved, and when I practice using a sword, I'm not practicing aggression or violence. All the movements have martial applications.
Yeah,
So even the empty hand forms that you see when you see people moving smoothly and slowly, each move has a martial fighting application.
yeah.
Um, and when I'm using a sword, um, I have an imaginary opponent, which is me. It's not somebody else, some thug or something. It's me, and it's the embodiment of all the parts of me, all my attitudes and prejudices and all that stuff that we carry around. It's embodied in that thing in front of me. And when I'm using the sword, I'm just slicing pieces off it. So I'm just trying to reduce the hold that aspect has on me. So it brings me back into harmony. I don't get caught so much by anger and frustration and so on.
So we know the Tao, we know Tai Chi. Where does the root come from? Where the root of Tai Chi Chuang? where movement now is used. And now you've gone further. You might use weapons, and in fact, what you're fighting is yourself and all those parts of yourself which no doubt come in the way of harmony.
Yeah, yeah, and you
That's
can't,
good. Yeah.
you can't use aggression to do that because you're creating aggression. You have to stay back in the calmness of it. But the root of the movements, there's various theories. The one that I'd relate to the most is in the 13th century, a Taoist monk called Chang San Feng, who lived in Wudang Mountain, where the Wudang Mountain range, which is the home of Taoism.
Yeah.
And he was trained as a martial artist, and he was a monk as well. But his martial arts was what was known as external or hard. So he used muscle and bone to fight with. And the story is that he was meditating, and there was a bit of a kerfuffle nearby. So he looked, and he saw a crane, a bird, fighting a snake. It may have been the other way around. The snake may have been fighting the bird. They were fighting.
Yeah.
And what he saw was what he knew as fighting was what the snake was what the bird was doing. The bird was beating at the snake with its wings and stabbing at it with its beak. What the snake was doing was something quite different. It was really, live and moving out the way and coming around the back. So as the force came in, it'd move around and attack from behind. So he took that principle and applied it to his understanding of martial arts. And it said that he created the first kind of Tai Chi movements
Okay.
so
So,
that it became a defensive art.
so the principle was you have a bird doing what a bird's doing, that's using its wings and flapping around. You had a snake uh, doing what a snake does, and that's just moving around. So what did he take from that? What was it exactly he took from that?
The hardness and the direct force of the bird would be yang, which is the light side of the symbol. And what the snake was doing was soft and moving out of the way, not resisting, going with it, going with the flow. That's where that phrase comes from, going with the flow. It's a Tai Chi expression. So that's the yin side.
And
And
how did that
together,
become?
it neutralized. So the soft movement neutralized the attack.
Okay.
And then it didn't take much.
Yeah,
It
got
didn't
it.
take much to then reapply it. So there are exercises in Tai Chi Chuan where you work with a partner, and one of you pushes, and the other one neutralizes the push by joining with it and redirecting it with very little effort at all.
And how does that translate to what you were saying, that in fact you are fighting yourself? Where did that component come in into the discipline, into the practice?
That's how I use it.
Oh wow.
I don't practice fighting other people or fighting imaginary other people. I use it as a way of developing myself by releasing the negativities through lopping bits off.
So you teach Dragon Spring Tai Chi, and and so can you tell us something about this? Is it form, and why is it different to other forms?
Okay, so it's the name of a school,
Okay.
which kind of delineates it from other schools. That's all.
Yeah.
So there's a style of Tai Chi that I use, which is it's Yang style, but it's not Yin or Yang. That's just a different word completely. It's a different Chinese character. It's a family name. There are five major styles, five major family styles of Tai Chi.
Yeah.
And it's said that Chen style was the first family to learn Tai Chi from the source of Chang San Feng.
Yeah.
And from there, other styles developed, other families developed from learning from Chen style originally.
Yeah.
So from Chen style came Yang style, and that's the lineage or the line of style that I follow. And each style has slightly different principles for movement.
Yeah.
but they all have that fundamental understanding of what Tai Chi is. If you were suddenly um, like in the middle of it, throwing a brick up in the air and breaking it with your head or something, that wouldn't
Yeah.
be considered Tai Chi somehow.
Got it.
Or if you're just flailing one arm about and it's not connected to the rest of you,
Mm,
that's not considered Tai Chi.
got it. So,
So Dragon Spring is the name that I chose when I started my own school.
okay, got it.
So in when is it 11 years ago, I left my original teacher and started my own school, and it had to have a name of some kind. Um, and I was born in the year of the dragon, and the name of the sword that I use it was made in Dragon Spring Foundry in China, and I that was the first weapon form I learned, and I had a real affinity with it. As soon as I started learning the sequence, there was something that really connected, and it's not connected with any other weapon that I've used.
Yeah.
So there was this really strong connection with. It's called Lung Chuan in Chinese, Dragon Spring, and the first sword form I learned was called Dragon Spring sword form. So that's where I took the name from.
Wow, it's really interesting. Uh, and, and what is the essence of your school then? So again, you've spoken quite a lot about it. What is the essence of your school of Dragon Spring Tai Chi?
So it's my approach basically. It's each teacher has their own approach, and it's my approach. And my approach is it's about health. The focus is health, not fighting. And the qigong of it is a whole other story. If you want to get into that, the qigong of it is the health side of it. Qigong means energy cultivation. Tai Chi is actually a form of qigong. And so that's what I'm really interested in, is where is the qigong of Tai Chi? Because the postures have to be a particular shape in
Yeah.
order for them to have their martial function, which makes them Tai Chi. But underneath that, there's this energy cultivation.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there because you've moved on quite a lot now, and I want to get to the heart of this because it is fascinating stuff. So, so you talked about the Chang Sang Fen, and is that
Yeah,
pronounced right, or am I?
that's near enough. Very good.
And then and the Yang family, to be distinguished from Yin Yang. They developed a style. It's a style that you've adopted. Firstly, uh, um, the Yang style. Why is it different to other styles? Let's go there, and then I want to explore this idea of the Qigong of Tai Chi. And then we'll go there. But yes, so what is the Yang family? Why is that style different, say, for example, other styles? Maybe that will help us understand the different styles of Tai Chi.
Well, I've only ever studied Yang style. I do lots of different forms, but they're all from that kind of root, if you like. Um, I've seen other styles. And one of the differences between Chen style, where Yang style came from, is still in Chen style. There are because most people's view of Tai Chi is it's continuously slow and smooth.
Yeah.
In Chen style, there are explosive bits in the middle where you jump up in the air and you stomp on the ground, and then you go back to smooth again. So there's a big difference from those two styles. Um, they have um, some postures that are exactly the same
Hmm.
posture, but they're done slightly differently. And it goes on into other styles. That one of Wu style tends to be generally much smaller. The movements are smaller and more compact. So each style has its own flavor, if you like.
Wow.
Um, some people would describe them as, well, if you want to do martial Tai Chi, then don't do this particular style. Or if you want to do health Tai Chi, don't do that particular style.
Yeah.
But it's just individuals' understandings of it, and I just don't have any view on that. But they developed over, from since the 13th century, they've developed through gradually, each one appearing. And within Yang style, you could look at 10 different Yang style teachers, and they would all look completely different. You wouldn't necessarily, unless you knew, you wouldn't recognize them as Yang style because they're so different. But my understanding and my observation of why they're different is to do with the martial application.
So what do you
So
mean by that?
if you're doing one particular posture and say somebody's visualizing an attacker throwing a punch at their face, they'll do the next movement in a particular way. But from that same original posture, if someone's punching at your lower body, you might do the same movement, but it'd be slightly different because it's dealing with something that's slightly different. So it's not really rigidly fixed.
Yeah.
Only the form is more rigidly fixed. You learn the form to learn the principles. And then once you've got the principles, you can apply them to any shape.
Okay. And when you say the form, what do you mean by the form?
The form is the sequence of movement.
Okay.
So there are lots of different sequences.
Yeah, and okay, I'm going to go back to the Qigong of Tai Chi, and then maybe talk about forms. So what do you mean by there's Qigong. What is Qi and what is Kong? When you put them together, what does it mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
So Qi is energy. But it's not the same word Qi as in Tai Chi. That's a different word altogether.
Yeah.
But the energy of Qi is in Tai Chi, just not in the name.
Got it.
Which is why they're all spelt differently. They're pronounced very similarly, but they're spelled differently. So Qi is energy. Gong would be the method or the movement or the cultivation. So energy cultivation or energy work. Gong actually can mean work, like in Kung Fu. Kung Fu can translate as time and energy or time and effort. It's the time and effort you put into something to create a skill. So in the West now we've started using Kung Fu my Kung Fu, my skill. So I have Kung Fu skill, but I don't have Kung Fu martial arts.
Yeah.
So you have Kung Fu skill in yoga.
Yeah. Got it.
It's your skill. So Qigong, energy cultivation.
So actually, yoga asana can be a form of Tai Chi then, or Tai Chi, because it's movement. It has an energy cultivation part to it.
I would say no.
Why?
I would say no. It's Qigong because it's energy work. It's
Yeah.
not Tai Chi because it doesn't follow the principles of Tai Chi, and I'm assuming you don't use it for fighting, or you couldn't use it for fighting.
Oh, well,
Or
no,
could you?
I don't think so. But no, not
Right.
that I know. Not that I know.
So I do a lot of Qigong as well. So there are Qigong movements and Qigong sequences. They're not about martials. They don't have a martial aspect.
So can you tell me what is the relationship then with Tai Chi and Qigong? If Qigong is movement cultivation of energy, then where does Tai Chi fit in? Because that's my understanding of Tai Chi from what you've been discussing with me.
Yeah. So in Tai Chi, you also cultivate energy. So it's a form of Qigong, but it's a specific form that has its own rules, its own principles, and it does other things. Therefore, one of the differences is generally this isn't nothing's 100%, but generally in Tai Chi you move a lot more. You cover ground. You step. You take a big area. Generally in Qigong, you don't move much around. There's less stepping. So one of the differences is space, the space you take up. And the other major difference is repetition. So in Tai Chi, you do a movement, and then it's followed by a different one, and by a different one, and by a different one. In Qigong, generally, you do one move over and over and over, and then you do another move over and over and over. So you can do, I mean, it might take me 20 minutes to play through a whole sequence of Tai Chi and
Yeah.
a whole form, and it may be 80 odd moves in that time. Where I can do a Qigong set for 20 minutes, and I might only do 6 moves because of the repetition of each move.
Right.
That's structurally the biggest difference, or the most obvious difference. But if you think of Qigong as an umbrella term that means anything to do with energy work,
Yeah.
Tai Chi is a part of that. So, like your style of yoga,
Yeah.
there's a different style of yoga, but they're all yoga.
Got it. Got it.
You see what I mean?
So you talk about forms. So
Yeah.
a form is an aspect of Qigong in Tai Chi. Tell us about these forms.
So the forms are different sequences of moves. So you could I can make up a form from scratch
Yeah.
using the principles and my understanding of movement and how I want to move and why I'm moving. Um, it's said that when Chen Xianfeng created Tai Chi movements, there were just a few movements. And over time, other martial applications came in, creating different movements. So they built up over time. And then in the Chen, no, is it Chen style? I think it's Yang style and Wu style. There's one called Wu style. But they both have the same sequence of movements. If you see them written down, the names, it's the same sequence of movements, but they're done differently. Each posture is done differently, but it's the same sequence, which is because Wu style came from Yang style and then went off into other forms. So I teach a short form to
Yeah.
beginners, a short sequence only takes 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and the long form is longer because not only are the repeat movements later in the sequence, but there's also a few more movements. So if you add all the movements up, there's about 150 in a long form, but they're not all different ones. There's probably 50 or 60 or so. And the same with the short form. If you count the individual postures, there's only 30. If you count them all, there's 70. And if you put them in a different sequence, they'd be called something else. And there are now styles in China where they have competition styles
Yeah.
because you can't compete a Chen style against the Yang style and judge it to be better than the other because they're different. So they've created these multiple styles where they've got a few Chen style moves, few Yang style moves. So if you want to compete in a competition of whose style looks the best,
Yeah.
you have to learn that style. So you're on a level playing field.
Interesting. Interesting.
And then there are weapon forms, the empty hand forms, weapon forms, and partner forms.
So you talked about cultivation of energy and chi. So I mean,
Mm.
why would you want to cultivate energy? And again, what is chi?
Okay. Well, chi is everything. Chi is energy. Energy is everything. Energy is vibration. So the chair you're sitting on is vibrating. All the molecules are vibrating. It has energy, which gives it its structure. So as humans, we take in energy, we breathe in energy, we eat, drink, it all turns into energy, and then we use it up. So then we have to have some more. So there's this constant flow of energy between our inside and our environment. So that's another flow of harmony.
Yeah.
Um, so developing chi in the practice it's about developing your health. It's about health and well-being, and you can feel energy in your hands. I imagine you feel energy when you're doing yoga, buzzing and tingling, and that's chi. You might call it prana in the yogic systems, I'm guessing, but it's the same thing. All cultures and all practices like we have, they all have this thing, and in Chinese it's just called qi. So it's a feeling. I what is because people feel it differently.
Yeah. And why would you want to cultivate chi? What is the base for cultivating chi?
Health. I want to cultivate it for health, to keep me well, to keep my well. Just when you talk about your energy levels and your quality of energy and your quality of being, that's what I would describe as key. So I don't want it, I don't want to fritter away my energy and be drained. So the more energy I have, the more useful I am to myself and my friends and my family and the world.
Yeah.
So, it's about being healthy and vital. Being that's energy, that's chi.
How old is Qi Kong? I know I'm maybe drifting. If Tai Chi is around the 13th century, Qi Kong seems to be a lot older as an understanding.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised by this answer.
Go
I
on.
think. Well, Tai Chi as an art, Tai Chi as Tai Chi Chuan is from the 13th century. But the principles that are from Taoism go back thousands of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Tai Chi as a theory and the philosophy is much older than the art. So Qigong is from the 1940s.
No.
Shock, shock horror. Yes,
Is that
the
right?
name, the name.
Yeah.
So we're told the term qigong was coined in the 1940s.
So can you explain the circumstance?
The practices just had a different name then.
Yeah.
Before that, they were called Daoyin. Daoyin means leading and guiding. So you be practicing qigong as a leading your energy around your body or guiding your energy around your body, and in is to do with the Chinese Revolution.
Yeah.
When the Chinese Revolution occurred, everything old was frowned upon and buried and got rid of. But the health aspect of Daoyin
Yeah.
was looked on as a very good thing because it's almost like Tai Chi and Qigong are like, in one sense, they're the National Health Service of China, but you
Yeah.
do it for yourself.
Yeah.
You have to have your own inner resources to stay well. So so after the revolution, it was just renamed as
Got it.
Qigong.
And you mentioned if you spoke to a Chinese person and say that you are practicing Tai Chi, you say, well, they wouldn't understand that. However, if you say Tai Chi Chuang, they will understand Tai Chi Chuang. What are the if there are any differences? What are the main differences between how Tai Chi is practiced or taught in China compared to how it's your understanding of how it's taught and practiced in the West?
Well, again, when the revolution happened, all this stuff went underground
Yeah.
because it was old school stuff, from that culture, and lots of Tai Chi masters were imprisoned or killed or maimed, so they couldn't practice. And so everybody that practiced it just did it on the sly. And eventually, so the story goes, eventually the government realized that people were still practicing this.
Yeah.
They needed to have control over it. So they got a few people together, a few teachers together, or masters together that they hadn't destroyed, and created a committee.
Yeah.
They developed or created what are known as the Beijing forms,
Yeah.
because that's where they come from, Beijing. And those were the government approved forms. So you could practice those, but you couldn't practice any other stuff.
Interesting.
That's the story I'm told, anyway. If you ask the Chinese teacher, in who lives in the West, they may tell you differently because yes, their culture, they may know differently, but that's how I understand it. Um, although, because China's been opened up for 25 years or so, so now they allow other practices to take place, but there's certain ones they still won't allow. There's this thing called Falun Gong, which is a form of Qigong.
Yeah, I've heard.
I don't know what it is they've got against it in particular, but there's something about it. In general, it seemed like they were very anti anti anything that empowered the individual.
Okay.
That's my understanding of it. So, but if they were, if it was under their control, they were okay with it.
Mm.
So,
I mean, I've really enjoyed this. It's been fascinating. It seems. I mean, we're trying to almost explain something that can't be explained because that's what the teaching is about. It seems to be
yeah,
teaching something that really you can't teach and you can't explain, but nevertheless you teach it, and
yes, yes, exactly.
it's fascinating.
And how I teach Tai Chi, I just you come and learn these movements, and some people just want to learn the movements because it makes them feel good, it makes them feel calm and relaxed, and that's it, and that they're happy with that. And other people want to go deeper into like the emotional levels and how do you work with that? What do you do about it? How do you apply that to your daily life? And other people want the martial aspect. They want to know how to defend themselves, which I'm not so interested in. I understand how the movements work, but I'm not interested in training in fighting. And really, if you want to be good at fighting, you have to practice fighting.
Yeah. Now, if you were to use Tai Chi for fighting, the violent aspect of it would go. Is that right? There's no place for violence in Tai Chi, is there? From what I understand.
No, no, there isn't. Ideally, there isn't. But if you're having to defend yourself against someone who's set out to really do you damage, then your own fear will come up, and you'll end up, basically, if someone attacks you initially, all the principles go out the window. Self-preservation, fight or flight
Yeah.
comes up. But that's part of the training of learning and practicing the sequences. You're continually practicing releasing the hold that fight or flight has on you. So then in lesser things, because like we're attacked all the time, like verbally,
Yeah.
or from TV and stuff. There's all this stuff coming at you. It's how do you respond to that?
Yeah.
If you're practicing being centered and calm, then you learn to deal with those things more easily. So if I'd spent the last 40 years learning to defend myself against an attack, I've just wasted 40 years because I've never been attacked. It's a waste
Yeah.
of time. So, um, I'm glad I'm interested in the other side of it, really. And
And
and also, I'd be running around wondering if someone is going to attack me and what they're going to do and what would I do about it if they did. And it's just, I'm not that shy, quiet person anymore. It really changed my character, brought out who I was because I wasn't afraid anymore to be who I was. So most of my students can't believe that I was ever shy.
mm,
I'm not a loud person by any means, but they can't believe I was ever kind of hiding in the corner and things like that. But I was. So
how would you apply Tai Chi on a day-to-day basis then?
I'm more aware. It's about self-awareness. But it's being physically aware first where you start. Then learning about it is the physicality and joining all the bits of your body up, so
Yeah.
you become more whole. And then so you in one sense you kind of glide through life more easily. Not all the time because we get caught, but
Yeah.
that's part of it. Physically, you're more relaxed, so you have more energy. And then when those things happen, like a big bill comes through the post, like how do you react to it? And if you lose it, how quickly do you come back? How long does it take for the print for your mind to remember the feeling of what it's like to be off balance, so you can come back into balance? So that's that simple, really, and that difficult.
I have my final question for you, and it is any message on unity?
That's part of what I'd aim for in myself. Unifying, as I said earlier, unifying the whole of my body as one piece, unifying my body, unifying my mind, body, and spirit as a piece, and then unifying that with everything else and everyone and everything that I meet. That's my underlying approach. And what I've just finished doing a weekend. I did a residential weekend online, residential, a little mini winter retreat online.
Yeah.
And one of the things one of the students said at the end, it just said to me, "Well, I did a good job. I'm doing a good job." They said, "I've created a community." That's again about this unity. It's brought all these people together, and they just feel like they're in a community. Some of them have never met in person. They're all members of the school. Some of them have never met. They're in different classes. Some of them are in different countries. So I have people from Scotland, people from Spain who are members of the school. And it's just, it's a community. I didn't set out to create a community, but that's what they felt. So that's, for me, that's the unity of it. It's uniting people, like-minded people.
On that, I'm going to thank you. Thank you, Alec. It's wonderful.
Thank you. It's been fun.